Okay. Hi. All right. Hi everybody. My name is Isabel. I'm a knitter based in Chicago, Illinois, and this is my first podcast episode ever. I wanted to start a little knitting podcast, just both sort of like keep myself on track with some upcoming holiday knitting plans, and also have a place to like reflect back on what I've made. I've been knitting since last November, so we're almost at a year. I plan to do like a what I've made in my first year knitting video, and it has really like, I have found the thing that I love to do, I feel. I've made a lot of stuff. I'm really proud of it. In this video, I'm not going to try and tackle everything that I've made, but I am going to do my like summer knit items. They're not all like summer to be worn in the summer. I had good intentions and I love to knit sweaters, so you know. But the things that I've knit since like June of this past year, and then otherwise I'm going to follow a pretty traditional podcast structure. So I'll start with finished objects, which I have a stack to show, and then I'll move into works in progress, and talk a little bit about acquisitions and some future plans. I have many of those as well. So I think I'll just jump right in. Don't mind if I look down every once in a while. I have my Ravelry open to get some like information about the pieces as I'm talking about them. But my first finished object, I finished this on June 5th, so early summer, is, ooh, she's wrinkled. Excuse me. But this is my Tolsta tee by Rebecca Clow, or the Crea Bea here on YouTube. I love Rebecca. I am always waiting for Rebecca to post another video. Like genuinely, I feel like other knitting podcasters, I watch many, but I come and go, I'll return to them. I think I've watched every video that Rebecca's ever posted, because I just find her so comforting. I feel like I know her. That's so, maybe I should cut that out. I find her so comforting and like, I think very no nonsense in the way that she thinks about her knits, but also she's a fantastic knitter and a fantastic designer. I loved making this. I knit this in Drops Bell, in two colors, the like navy, and then this is the like sage green. I don't know the specific like numbers. I knit this on a size 7 needle. The Tolsta tee calls for a size 8 needle, but I wanted more of like a baby doll tee fit than the pattern is sort of written to be. So I knit a size 2 where I would have probably knit a size 3 just based on my bust circumference, and I made a couple of modifications. I did take good notes on those modifications, so I'll link my Ravelry page in the description of this video, and all those notes are there. So if you want a Tolsta tee that fits a little bit tighter, I'll insert a picture of me wearing it also. If you want a Tolsta tee that fits a little bit tighter, you can look at my notes. I have plans to make so many more of these. I had plans to make them in the summer, although here in Chicago it is still summer. It's like 80 degrees today. And I have yarn to do it also because I ordered some Drops Bell before the tariffs hit, worrying that I would not be able to get my hands on it. So that's just a matter of time, but there will definitely be more Tolsta tees. I'm a huge fan. It took me like 3 days. It was so quick. Really great knit. My next finished object is not a summer knit at all, but my girlfriend's birthday is in July, and I asked what she'd like me to make for her. She's already gotten a couple of sweaters from me. I have broken the partner curse, boyfriend-girlfriend curse. Fun fact, if you don't know about the boyfriend curse traditionally, but in my case the girlfriend curse, basically it is that you should never gift someone a hand knit sweater until you're married, because the relationship will be doomed as soon as you finish the sweater if you're not married yet. And I think largely like the grain of truth in that is like you need to make sure that you know who the knit-worthy people in your life are, and who's gonna like appreciate the work that's gone into these gifts. But my girlfriend is very knit-worthy, and she will receive many sweaters. But the way that you ward off the curse is that you knit a piece of your hair into the sweater as you're knitting. That's something that I think usually happens regardless, because we shed a lot and we have a cat who sheds a lot, so there's always some hair in handmade objects. But that's really good because it means that we won't break up, which I'm happy to hear about. But anyway, this is actually another Crayabea pattern, heavily modified this time. So this is the Stick Season jumper by the Crayabea, but as you can see, I did not include the texture motif. That sweater is traditionally like a textured yoke sweater. I wanted just like a really simple boxy cardigan or sweater pattern to knit with. Well, actually, this is the second one that I have made. The first one I made was for my brother for his graduation, and I wanted like a more masculine fit. I was familiar with Rebecca and her patterns. I like the way she writes, so I used that as like a jumping off point to get some numbers, and I really was very pleased with the outcome of his sweater. And so I think going forward, that's gonna be my like staple sweater pattern. It's really customizable, as all of Rebecca's patterns are. I do love the textured yoke. I don't know that I'll do it. I'm not a huge textured sweater person, but that may change. But yeah, this sweater is knit in Cascade 220. I don't remember what color the yarn is because they have so many oranges, but I'll try and find a label and put that on the screen. Let me pull up my Ravelry notes for this one and I can give you more information. I knit a size 6, so I wanted more positive ease than the pattern calls for. It's a more tight-fitting jumper. I knitted in a size 6 on US 7, which are 4.5 millimeter needles. I didn't make very many modifications other than the sizing and the texture, except in the arms. I think it wanted me to decrease like every 7 or 10 rounds or something, and I did that. I knit them to pattern, and my girlfriend tried it on. It was like, these arms are much too tight. They just are like a tighter fitting sleeve, and that wasn't the look we were going for. I was kind of hoping for like a Baba inspired fit, and I do think that I was successful. I love this chunky neck. I put some elastic in here to keep the shape. I got little tags made, say Izza, say my name. So that's really sweet, really good for gifting. Yeah, I, as you will see, actually have made this pattern for a 3rd time this summer and have plans to make it again. I think that it's just a really nice, like, staple. I think Rebecca described it as like the sweater that you would grab off of a chair on your way out to do something, like worn and tried and true, and I definitely think that is the case. It's great. This is my first time working with Cascade 220, which is a yarn that you will see repeated in my knitting plans. I really like it. I get the hype. It's very affordable. I'm lucky to live close enough to Wool & Company that I can drive out there every once in a while if I need to like see a yarn in person. I think that this sweater cost $50 to make, which compared to some other sweaters that I have made and have to show is pretty exceptional. I am pleased with that. It's a good budget option. It does not pill very badly. It wears beautifully. It gets really soft with blocking, and it's warm, and it's, I think, you know, all of the sort of praise for Cascade 220, I understand. I wonder, a question for you all. I made a TikTok a while ago talking about wanting to use more yarns that were made in the US because I read Clara Park's book, The Vanishing Fleece, and loved it. And if you're not familiar with that book, the whole premise is She's friends with a wool farmer, sheep farmer, who has an extra bale of fleece, unprocessed fleece. And she doesn't describe herself as a knitter, but she's a yarn reviewer. So I think she knits maybe casually, but that's not her like main fiber interest. It's actually the yarn itself. And she takes this bale and works to process it and take it through the whole life of from fleece to yarn, all within the United States. And it's actually very difficult because most of our wool processing has closed. It's been outsourced overseas. It's a lot cheaper to do things overseas, but there was a real tradition here at one point of yarn processing, wool processing, and there are some brands that you can still get that are beautiful. Harrisville Designs I've worked with is beautiful. Cascade is also a US based brand, and I know that they don't, like, it's not like all their wool is sourced from the US, it's just, you know, it's a US or a North American, perhaps, maybe it's Canadian, I don't know, North American brand. But I posted a TikTok about, you know, wanting some recommendations or what do people think about this, because it does get very expensive to try and work with local yarn. And I know they're always around that. You can, you know, find a farmer or whatever, but like commercial, local yarn. And somebody commented that the people who own Cascade had donated a lot of money to our current president, which is something that I would not like to support, but I did a little bit of research to see if that was true. And all I could find was that like the wife of, or like the mother-in-law of the previous owner, CEO, had tweeted that she was a Trump supporter, but that the brand had sort of, you know, come out and said like she does not represent us, like she doesn't work here, she's not. So I don't know. I wonder, you know, where that claim came from. I definitely would like to know. I would be very heartbroken if Cascade had icky dealings, because I have quite a lot of it in my stash right now and would love to keep using it. So yeah, if you have any info on that, I would love to know. Because I am trying to, you know, where I can be. I don't make a lot of money. I don't have a huge budget to work with, but where I can be, I want to be intentional about how I spend my money in this hobby. Okay, rant over, back to finished objects, because I got a lot to work through. This next one is a summer knit, and this is my camisole number 10 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, freshly washed and a little wrinkled, but on the camera it's coming up pretty red, it looks, but in person this is like a pink, a dark pink, I would say. Also drop spell. Something I didn't mention, I don't think, when I was showing the Tolsta tee is drop spell is machine washable, and then you dry it flat, which has been really great for summer knits. I appreciate about wool that it does not always touch your skin or need to be washed every time you wear it. However, with a little tank top, it does need to be washed every time I wear it. So machine washable is really nice. The yarn softens up really beautifully with each wash, I've found. And it holds up well. It also means that, you know, cotton and linen, yeah, drop spell is a cotton linen viscose blend yarn. Cotton and linen both can stretch quite dramatically over time, and you know, in a humid day or a rainy day, I found that both the Tolsta tee and the camisole number 10 can stretch out, but when you wash them, it like shoop, sucks right back into place, which is great. It gives it another life. So I know after my whole little spiel about ethical yarn, drops potentially isn't in keeping with that, but I do feel that for summer yarns, for summer knits, it's probably going to be my go-to going forward. I know that Sadness Garden Lena is pretty much the same yarn, the same composition, and I'd be really interested to work with that. It is considerably more expensive, so I definitely would like to have a project in mind that I know I'm really going to love, and then I'll give that one a try because I would love to. Some stats on camisole number 10. I knit a size medium, and this is an interesting construction. Sorry, I was just tossing the other 2 knits I've talked about off to the side so I can access my laptop again. But basically you start with the neckline and you cast on size US 6 needles, and then you switch to US 8 needles, and that gives it like a very nice even edge. My tip for this is, because it's difficult to do, you know, to go 2 sizes up, especially with cotton linen yarn, it doesn't have much stretch to it. Leave the stitches that are being worked, the left needle, on a size 6. If you have like an interchangeable circular set, just change the right needle to a size 8, and then you can pick up and knit onto the size 8, but you have more room for the stitches to be on the size 6 still. Otherwise, I genuinely don't know how I would have gotten them all on a size 8 needle. They're very tight. But I knit this to pattern. It used 4 skeins of drop spell, or approximately 4 skeins. I think I had a little bit left, but I didn't weigh it out or anything. And yeah, I like this pattern a lot. I love a boat neck tank top. I wore it a lot this summer. I'll probably make another one now that I own the pattern. Big fan. That actually concludes my summer knits. I have 3 more finished objects, but they are all woolly sweaters. I am going on a trip with my family this Christmas to somewhere warm, so I hope to maybe make another toasted tea or another tank of some sort before that trip. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be a return, a rejuvenation to summer knitting. This next pattern I referenced before is another stick season sweater. Man, I'm gonna have to start differentiating my patterns more if I'm gonna make any sort of interesting podcast, I think. But this one's also for my girlfriend. It's in this stripey motif. So as I mentioned earlier, this May, my little brother graduated from undergrad. He went to the University of Illinois. The colors are navy blue and bright orange. I decided that I wanted to surprise him with a sweater, and I wanted it to be, you know, related to U of I, UIC, UIUC in some way. But those are kind of difficult colors to make into a beautiful sweater that isn't like just something you would wear, you know, if you go back for a game or something. So I sort of developed this stripey pattern, which was like, I did a darker blue and then white, and then this middle stripe was an orange and then white, and then this was like a lighter blue. And that sweater almost killed me. I don't know why it took so much longer than I expected it to. I find that if I'm really committed, I can knit a sweater in 2.5 or 3 weeks, which I know is very fast. I am fortunate enough that I work from home a couple of days a week and can do a little bit of knitting during meetings and stuff. And so I do knit a lot, many hours a day. But for whatever reason, that sweater that I made for him took like a month and a half, and I was really down to the wire, like the nights leading up to his graduation, because I wanted to give it to him complete, of course. I was fine not having woven in the ends, but I wanted it to be blocked and dried and finished. And I was really struggling. I was staying up super late. I was, you know, really committed to finishing the sweater. And then I ran out of yarn. I ran out of the dark blue color, and I was using Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, which is a beautiful yarn. I love it. Love Knitting for Olive, but my local yarn store that I knew stocked Knitting for Olive did not have the heavy merino. And as I said, I live pretty close to Wool & Company, but it is about an 1.5-hour drive, and I couldn't get there before the store closed, and I was like a day or 2 out from it was supposed to be done. It was very stressful. So I ended up getting my local yarn store, the Drop Stitch. If anyone's ever in Chicago, I highly recommend the Drop Stitch. I love them. I love Hannah. They had the cotton merino blend of Knitting for Olive in the same color, and so I bought that and I held it double, and I knit the final stripe section on the sleeve. And it worked fine. It was okay. It was very interesting to block because it blocked out the same, but it dried much slower for some reason. I'm sure there's like a scientific reason. Maybe it's because it was held double, but I was like blow drying that one stripe to try and get it to dry in time. But as I was making this, my girlfriend was like, I need this sweater. Like, you can't give this sweater away. And I was like, I love you so much. However, I have almost, I've stayed up until 3 a.m. 3 nights in a week trying to finish this sweater to give to my little brother to surprise him because I'm so proud of him for graduating from college. And like, he is getting this sweater. You already have a sweater or two. He's getting this sweater. But maybe I'll make you one, like similar one sometime in the future. And then this summer we both went on trips with our families and we were apart. And so I decided that would be the time I was going to try and surprise her with one. So I knit this one, and it's in Cascade 220. It's the same size as it's a size 6 knit on US 7 needles. I did knit this one longer than the orange one, and the cuffs, the ribbing around the cuffs is a different length, but it is pretty much the same. I would say that the orange one gets more wear. I think I'm gonna rework some of this. I feel that for some reason the sleeve decrease rate that I used on the orange one, I think it's because I did a much thicker cuff and I decreased to get like a tighter cuff. These are almost square sleeves, like almost rectangular sleeves, which is great, but I don't think fits the vibe of this exact sweater. And the same thing has sort of happened on the body, where because I did a much smaller chunk of ribbing, because I liked the look of it, it doesn't have as much cinch to the body, so it kind of flares in a way that you can't really, I mean, maybe you can tell. I don't know. It's hard to see until it's on, but it's not exactly how I want it to be, and I think I might just rip the sleeves back a little bit and do some more decreases and have a thicker cuff, and then rip the body back a little bit and maybe do a round of decreases before the ribbing and then do a slightly thicker ribbing band on that. And I think that it'll get a lot more wear, because right now it's a little bit unruly because it's so like big and boxy, and the color scheme is more sort of like masculine sportswear, which is what I was going for. So the silhouette and the colors don't match up perfectly, but it is a lovely sweater. The pattern is great, clearly, because I've knit it 3 times now. There were a lot of ends to weave in because of this stripe motif, but I did it. I did it all. I weaved in all the ends. Normally I have like a couple where I've connected new balls that are just like floating around and they don't bother me, but I was very proud of myself. And it was a nice gift, a nice little, a nice gift. So I'm happy with that one. Okay, we have 2 more finished objects from summer. And the next one is actually what I'm wearing. So I'm gonna try and stand up a little bit and see if you can, that doesn't help very much actually. And it desperately needs to be de-pilled. But this is the Step-by-Step sweater by Florence Mills, I think. Is that her name? Florence Miller? Florence Miller. Apologies. Step-by-Step sweater by Florence Miller, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I feel like everyone has knit this sweater. The Tulle Stitch is actually my first raglan construction that I've ever done. My first sweater that I knit was, well, my first ever knitting project was the Novice Slipover by Petite Knit, which unfortunately doesn't get very much wear because I knit it with Drop's Kid Silk mohair, and both myself and my partner find it just like horribly itchy, and we can't stand it. So sometimes that gets worn with a t-shirt underneath it, but even then it's a little too itchy for me. But that's a drop shoulder construction. I don't know. It's like as much of a drop shoulder as a vest can be, I suppose. And then I knit the Winter's Pullover by Ozetta, which is a drop shoulder, like a really heavy drop shoulder. And that just sent me down a path of drop shoulder sweaters. It was what I knew. But I did the Tolsta tee, and then I've really enjoyed working a raglan. So I've been doing some more raglans. The real star of this sweater, though, is the yarn. So last April, I went to YarnCon in Chicago, which was just a joy. It was so much fun. It was a little overwhelming. There were so many people there. But YarnCon is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a yarn convention that happens in the city, and all sorts of indie yarn producers come to this big convention hall and have booths and sell their stuff. And there are books and stitch markers and notions and lots of yarn. And so I bought a sweater's quantity of this alpaca yarn, which, I wish I knew the name of the farm. I'll find it and put it on the screen. But it's just beautiful. It was this like beautiful sort of ashy brown yarn. It's sourced from a farm in Illinois, so very close to home, which I was really excited about. It's so soft. Like, I wish that everyone could just feel how soft it is. And then I held it with a strand of Knit Picks Gloss lace weight yarn, which is a silk merino blend, which is how you get a little bit of that like heathered, the lighter brown is the gloss. But I did that because alpaca will stretch out quite a bit. It doesn't have a lot of memory, and gloss is a much stronger yarn. And you don't need very much merino content in a sweater for it to have the properties of merino wool. So that was my thinking. I knit a size 3 with US 9 needles, so this worked out very quickly. And I did make some changes to the finishing details. So I knit all of the hem, all the ribbing in 2x2 rib with sort of petite knit style, like rolled hem. And then I did the same with the neck. I actually first knit this neck just as like a funnel neck, like the cloud sweater. And I found that I don't think I knit it tall enough or something. It gaped really weirdly. So I rubbed it back and I re-knit it, and I'm much happier with it now. This sweater, oh, the first day that I wore it, it pilled so badly. Like the worst I've ever, like any store-bought sweater, anything I've ever made. It pilled so badly. And I mean, I expected that. It is, as I said, like the softest yarn in the world. But it did freak me out a little bit. I was very nervous that I'd gone through all this work. You know, alpaca yarn was not cheap, and it was just ruined. But what I did, I'd had like a depiller before, and then I had an electric depiller. And the electric depiller like couldn't handle the weight of just like the sheer amount of fluff. I just went to Walgreens and I got like the little eyebrow shavers, and that worked perfectly. So if you have a sweater that really needs depilling and it feels daunting, I recommend the eyebrow shaver. I did a huge depill. I got off like a small dog's worth of fluff. And each time I've worn it, the pilling has been much less severe. It does need probably to be gone over with the little shaver again, but I couldn't be bothered before I turned the camera on. So that'll be maybe this evening task. We'll see. Yeah, I've worn this sweater a lot. It's so cozy. It's amazing. As I said earlier, it's still pretty warm here in Chicago. We've had a late fall. We had a late summer, we're having a late fall. Things are a little stressful climate-wise. I am ready for sweater weather for more reasons than one, but I know that in the winter my office is quite cold, so I'm looking forward to this in the colder months. I think it's really gonna keep me toasty and warm. I also find that the finishings are just very elegant, and I really like it. I'm very excited about it still. It's fresh off the needles enough that I'm really excited. Yeah, I knit this in 9 days. I started it August 14th and I finished it on August 25th, so it really flew. If you're looking for a project that is chunkier yarn and goes very quickly, I would recommend the Step by Step sweater. It's hugely customizable, which I clearly really appreciate. I like to use a knitting pattern sort of the way I use a recipe, which is like as a foundation to give me sort of the necessary ingredients, and then I go off on my own a little bit. Yeah, so that's the Step by Step sweater. Thrilled. My final finished object of the summer, up till now, my most recently finished object, is the Amy sweater by Petite Knit. Ooh, this turtleneck is really quite intense. It's hard to show. And it's also kind of wrinkled. I just wore this the other day, so it excuse the wrinkles. But this, oof, I'm so excited about her. My girlfriend, I tried this on before it had sleeves, and she was like, you know, I trust your creative vision, I trust the process, but that is one dramatic turtleneck, and I have to say it has continued to be, which is sort of the point of this sweater, I think. Similar to the Step by Step sweater, this has 2x2 ribbed rolled hem detail. Clearly I was excited to start this when I was finishing this, so there's a similar vibe. I knit this in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. When they had their day of fundraiser for Gaza, I ordered so much yarn, actually, like kind of a disgusting amount of yarn. I ordered 2 sweaters quantities, and I'm always an anxious buyer, so in fact I had a surplus of yarn for both of those sweaters. But I have a scrappy sweater in plans for after the holidays to use up some of my heavy merino scraps, leftovers, which I'm thrilled about. This project actually took me kind of a while to finish, over a month, which is long for me for a sweater. Partially that's because it's knit on US 6, which are 4.0 millimeter needles, which is just a slightly smaller needle than I often work with. I'd say I usually work on a 7, so it's just that much tighter gauge that it worked up a little slower. I also, I'm normally a pretty monogamous knitter, but I did get distracted by the work in progress that I'll show you next, which meant that this one worked up a little more slowly. I think I also just wasn't knitting as much. I know that we all feel some lulls sometimes in our knitting, some high and lows, and I felt like I was in a little bit, life has been really busy. My girlfriend just moved into our apartment, which was very, very exciting, but we were moving and unpacking and cleaning and organizing, and so knitting was not my number one priority, but things are feeling better now, so we're back in it. But yes, the yarn is the color pomegranate. I knit a size large. I think it's a great pattern. I haven't knit, I say this and that's actually not true. I've knit a couple of petite knit patterns. I don't have anything against them. I think they're well written. I have made a couple of Sophie scarves, and while I don't actually think that a Sophie scarf is like a fantastic beginner project, I do think that the people who are sort of upset about it being a paid pattern are potentially misremembering their first forays into knitting, where it's very helpful to have set patterns and to have things that are seemingly very simple explained to you. And so while I understand that it's just a garter stitch scarf with an I-cord edge, I do think that it's a huge step for a lot of people. So I am pro Sophie scarf. I think it's cute, I think it's wearable, I think it's very giftable. I've gifted it to a couple of people. I had one that I loved for myself that I have misplaced, so need to make another one probably for the winter. I might do a shawl though. I have some electric blue, cobalt blue yarn that I think would be really, really nice for a Sophie shawl or some sort of version of that. Anyway, I've knit 2 cloud sweaters. I've knit the Amy sweater. I've knit the novice slipover, like I mentioned earlier. I think that's it for my petite knit patterns, but I do find them to be pretty well written. They're always professional looking. I feel like what you see is what you get with a petite knit pattern, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the heavy merino. I've worked with it before, but not for a piece that I kept. I used it for my brother's graduation sweater. I'm really happy now to have a sweater of my own in this yarn. I love merino wool. I've used the Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia yarn a couple of times, which I really enjoy, although it's listed at a DK weight, and I find that it's more of like a heavy fingering. It's very, very thin. So that has done me dirty once or twice with some gauge issues on a project, but it's so soft and beautiful. And Knitting for Olive is a really good merino yarn. I highly recommend. I also love what they're doing. I know that they could really use some support right now. They donated, so if you weren't aware, about a month ago they had a day where they donated their total sales, so not just their profit, but everything that was sold in that 24-hour period, to UNICEF for humanitarian aid in Gaza. And I think they reported back that it was like $800,000 worth of sales, which, you know, is basically just them donating that because they still sent out all the inventory. And then they were hit by tariff issues, and they weren't sure if they were going to be able to continue to ship to the US or not, but they're back. They're able to ship to the US again. So if you're located in the US, there is a slight surcharge, but it's great yarn and it's a great organization. If you're not in the US, you get it free of surcharge. So I can't recommend it enough. I think it's really beautiful yarn. They have a ton of colors, and I do plan on working with it soon, which I'll get to when I move into future plans. But with that, I think it's time for works in progress. I don't have as many of those as I had finished objects, so hopefully this part will go faster. We're already at 36 minutes, but my first, if I can get all the pieces. I'm back. Okay, my first work in progress is the Serena sweater by Cookie the Knitter. This is my first cabled project. I have the body done. I'm on sleeve 1 right now, as you can see. Oh, it's so beautiful. I cannot even believe it. Ooh, hair in my mouth, fuzz. Anyway, I'm so proud of it. I feel like when I knit my first sweater, I came away from that feeling like such a high, like I can't believe I've made something wearable. And then I sort of just knit stockinette sweaters for like a long time. And now I can't believe that I was able to do this. There are definitely some mistakes, which, you know what, I'm not even gonna point out to you. None of your business. I know where they are. I've decided they don't bother me. It's my first cable sweater, and it's all over cables. Like, this is an intense one to start with first. So I will take it. I'm thrilled. I want this to be done so badly, but I also just understand that it's not the weather for it yet, although hopefully it'll cool down soon and then I can get away with wearing a wool cabled jumper. But this is part of the reason that my Amy sweater took so long to finish, because I did start sort of manically swatching and learning how to cable so that I could cast this bad boy on, this cookie on. I'm knitting the size large because I have sort of an image of a Rory Gilmore-esque massive oversized knit cable jumper, which I do think it's gonna be pretty big because cables block out, you know, quite a bit, and this has already got a good amount of positive ease on me. But I'm very excited about that. It'll be so cozy. I'm knitting this, it's on size 9 needles. It's worked up very quickly, like astonishingly quickly for my first cable project. I'm holding Cascade 220 and, oh boy, I'm gonna butcher this one. Hilsvåg Vie? It's the fingering weight Hilsvåg, 100% Norwegian wool. I think that they're both just in their like natural colorways, their undyed colorways. It makes a really lovely fabric, these two yarns held together. I had originally purchased Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino to do this project when I ordered the pomegranate heavy merino for the Amy sweater, and it came and it was just like a slightly more cool toned cream that I wanted. And I have a project, a Christmas present project up and coming that I think that will suit much better, so that that will be used for that instead. And I had purchased the Cascade 220 to be for that project, so I just swapped them. So it was no big deal. But yeah, I'm on sleeve 1. I've put it on pause for a second because I need to start getting into some gift knitting, just like get my hands wet with some gift knitting. But I'm so in love with it. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait. My other work in progress right now, I do have 2 other sort of long-term whips, but I don't think I'm going to show them. They're both summer projects, and I do hope to finish them someday, but they've both been sitting for so long that they're not in great shape right now. So I need to sort of deal with them, and then I'll show. But this next work in progress, oh boy, I just shoved into my bag, and it's like in the middle of a row. I started it this morning. Can you tell? Isn't it so interesting? Looks great. This is going to be the zippered sweater by Petite Knit for my dad. His birthday is at the beginning of November, and I'm slowly working my way through family members for gift knits. My brother, obviously, I've mentioned many times, got a sweater this past summer. My mom has a vest in progress, but she keeps telling me not to worry about her, so it'll happen. She'll get it soon. And then my dad is getting the zipper sweater. Also in Cascade 220. I sound like a broken record today. All the same patterns, all the same yarn, but it's what I know. It's affordable. I know he'll love it. I know that it's more easy to take care of. It's not superwash because my forays into superwash have never ended very well, but I think I'm just gonna tell him to dry clean it. My mom does hand wash a lot of things, but my dad doesn't, and I don't want to like gift him a sweater and her laundry responsibilities. So he gets a lot of things dry cleaned, like of his work clothes anyway, so I think that's just my plan. It's in this really beautiful, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, my lighting's not great, but it's this like really beautiful kind of heathered navy blue. Maybe the ball will be better to, yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. But I need to get a move on. So that is my other main whip. I'm gonna work on like a reward system. Every big chunk of this I get done, I can work on the cabled sweater for a little longer, because I just want to do that all day long. But I gotta get a move on with this. I have less than a month to finish this, which will be fine. I'll be able to do it, but not if I don't work on it. So those are my main whips, my main works in progress. I try to only have 1 or 2 at a time, or else I get really overwhelmed. That being said, I have many plans coming up, so I know that inevitably I'm gonna have to work on things in tandem. But I will run you through some of my upcoming knitting plans. The first and most important is a sweater for my partner's mom. So I've basically told my family that I think that the way that gift knitting is going to work for them is that my family will get hopefully a present on their birthday, a knit present on their birthday, and then my partner's family is going to get presents for Christmas. I don't do Christmas with her family day of, but I've been going there for New Year's every year, which has been really lovely. And so I'll give them their gifts then. And my partner's mom had already requested that she asked if she could commission me to make her a sweater, and I told her that I was already planning on making her one, so I just asked what she would be interested in getting, so we worked together to pick. And she chose the Lakes sweater, the Lakes pullover by Ozetta, which I've already knit once actually. And I'm gonna knit it in a dark gray. Let me actually grab the yarn for you for a second because it's really beautiful. I'll be right back. So the Lakes pullover is a saddle shoulder construction. And it was one of the first. So I knit the Winter's pullover, and then I knit the Lakes pullover V-neck, and then I knit the Lakes pullover for my partner, and it's really nice. It's pretty chunky. It knits up pretty quickly. It's a worsted weight yarn, 18 stitch gauge on size US 8 needles. I'm gonna be holding these two yarns together. So this is the Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia Merino, and this is Kinross 4-ply lamb's wool by Wee County Yarns. I've never used this yarn before. The Creabea Rebecca speaks very, very highly of it. I've been looking for an excuse. It's actually, you know, it's pretty affordable for what it is. I can't remember the exact price, but I think it came to like $50 maybe for a sweater's quantity. I know I'm holding them double, so this is going to be a more expensive sweater, but this is very affordable yarn. This is 382 yards per 100 grams, which again, like, that's more fingering weight. This is listed as a DK weight. I do think that it blooms pretty nicely, so maybe that's what they're going off of. But it was $15 for 328 grams. So like, very good. I'm gonna knit these two together for her. I'm excited. I think she'll like it. Again, I think I'm gonna suggest dry clean. If you guys have tips on gifting knits with care instructions included, I feel conflicted because of course I want to give somebody, I want to set people up for success having hand knit wool garments. I also don't want to gift somebody a lot of work, and so I'm trying to base it off of what I know of the person, but also what's just like realistic. I don't wash my sweaters that often. I find that they don't need it that often unless I spill something on them. I'm always wearing a shirt underneath, and also wool, keeps itself clean pretty well. But I don't want to, I don't know, I feel like there's a little bit of ickiness being like, here's a sweater and you never have to wash it, don't even worry. Which of course isn't true, but maybe, not as often as you would like a synthetic sweater. So I think I'll probably give both hand wash and dry clean instructions and just say like whichever is easier for you. I just wouldn't ever put it in the washing machine or the dryer. So that's but if you have, I don't know, cute care cards or suggestions, I'm very open to that. But yes, Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, dark gray. My final gift knit that I have planned right now is for my partner. She always gets a sweater. She is very, very deserving of a sweater. I will knit her a sweater whenever she asks for one. There's an image on Pinterest, which I will insert, of a brioche sweater with a bright blue collar, and I've never knit brioche before. I'm feeling very emboldened by my foray into cable knitting to try some new techniques. I found a pattern by Petite Knit, I believe. Let me see if I have it saved. Probably I do, somewhere on Ravelry. Yes, the September sweater by Petite Knit, which is a pretty straightforward drop shoulder brioche sweater, which is the one that I found that looks the most similar to this Pinterest sweater we found, and I think it's just like a commercial, like store-bought sweater. However, well, I guess it'd be okay. I have Knitting for Olive heavy merino to knit that. My partner's not a huge fan of mohair, which the sweater does call for mohair, but I don't use it very often anyway. I think that my gauge will be okay. I might have to do a little bit of finagling with the numbers, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. That'll just be my starting off point. The September sweater will be my starting off point to, you know, the world of brioche. I'm excited about it. But that has a like more, it has a less firm gift date. Like if I don't finish that by the 25th of December, it's okay. We live together. She'll get the sweater. So that will be done. I think, man, I feel like I'm missing something, but I think that's all my plans for right now. I have many people in my life who are knit-worthy, who I would love to make things for, but I think I'm just gonna have to chip away. My grandma is actually the one who taught me to knit many years ago, and then I stopped knitting. I crocheted for a long time, but I kind of fell out of love with that, and then I picked up knitting, so she definitely deserves a sweater, but I think I'd like her to be able to pick the one and to be able to do it really nicely and really well. So that might be a next year, or even just, you know, this is your Christmas present. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll gift her a future sweater. I'll say, your Christmas present is that you and I can sit down and pick a sweater for you, and I'll make it. I also have plans. One of our good friends is getting top surgery in January, and so I will be making him a sweater. But he and I need to sit down also and pick a pattern and yarn and what he wants that to look like, and I'll get his measurements and everything, and that'll be some winter knitting. But this was pretty long. I hope that people enjoyed it and stuck around. I'll give a little bit of information about myself if you've stuck around this long. My name is Isabel. I live in Chicago. I work at a library here in Chicago, in the adult education department. So I'm not a librarian, but I do, you know, I am in a library all day, which is a very proper place for knitwear. But yeah, my program runs anywhere from 45 to 50 classes each term, and I help pick the classes and facilitate them. I'm really passionate about education. I got my master's in visual and critical studies from the Art Institute of Chicago. I graduated 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. And I did a lot of research on queer oral storytelling and intergenerational queer engagement, storytelling, community building, authenticity building, vulnerability. I plan to probably get my PhD someday. I'd love to merge. I'm very interested in craft. I've done a lot of ceramics. I've done a lot of fiber arts. I'm interested in sort of woman's place in craft, which I think is often either overlooked or undervalued or sort of excluded, actually, from some of, you know, fiber arts is traditionally women, but a lot of the other crafts, traditional crafts, have not been welcoming places to women. I host a queer stitch night once a month at Gerber Hart Archives, so if you're in Chicago, I would love to see you there. The next one is going to be on October 22nd, and I can leave a link to that in the description also. They're really fun. It's free. It's from 6 to 8 on Wednesdays, on a Wednesday each month. You just show up with whatever project you're working on. It doesn't have to be fiber arts. It can be anything, and hang out and enjoy some community together. That's kind of all from me. I'm really excited to be doing this. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be so happy for recommendations for the many questions that I asked today. But yeah, until next time, thank you.